Okay, this meeting is called to order. We are a small, intimate group tonight. We have Richard in the room and Lisa online. Hopefully this will be pretty quick. We need to look at our next two meetings and the scheduling of those. One of the is my fault, but the other is the town hall being booked. We should touch on maybe thinking about what we want to do for future meetings. But for now, any changes to the agenda?
Nope.
When we get to the end, I would love to just talk briefly about, so now that this draft is done, where do we think our focus should lie? But that's a pretty quick conversation. Now, I wouldn't mind revisiting the Google Drive conversation for those recorded meetings.
Yeah.
I personally have no interest in trying to figure out how to get those recordings off. If anyone else wants to, go for it. Otherwise, I think we should stop paying for it and toss them. But we can talk about that at the end. So the third item is approving the minutes from December 2nd. I think everyone has looked at them.
I move to approve them.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great, those minutes are approved. 4 is reports. Mail and email, I checked the mail today, nada. Jane, you checked the email today?
Right, nothing.
Zip. I have not heard anything from Kathy Rondo about the Regional Planning Commission. Maybe for the next meeting, we should reach out to her, because I don't think we've heard from her in a while. So I'm not sure if stuff is happening and we're not hearing about it, but I will try to remember to do that. Lisa, can you hear us okay? Okay. Energy Board, I think Brian presented that pretty big description a meeting or two ago, and that was going to be it. He's going to do quarterly. So
Right.
maybe we can ask him back in March. Zoning administrator, not here.
I know there's no new permits or anything.
No new permits, okay. ZBA, anything from the ZBA?
Nothing.
Any word on reconvening the hall hearing?
No,
Nope, okay.
just waiting to hear.
From the
them.
state? From the
From Maurice, if the state has contacted them again.
Okay.
So we've heard nothing about that.
Follow up on the public hearing about the town changes we were working on. There's nothing we can do now that affects those one way or another. I just wanted to know if there was any more conversation about that before the select board has their public hearing on
That's Monday, right?
Monday. So I'm gonna go to that.
Yeah,
I had two takeaways from our public hearing. One was around no external evidence for the home-based businesses, which was a higher standard than we used to have.
The screening.
So it used to, I did go back and look at the original, and there was, in the original, I gotta find it, the requirement that a home-based business shall not have external storage of supplies or equipment visible from adjacent highways or houses, except for outdoor parking of 2 business vehicles and employee vehicles. But then in the draft that Martha prepared, it changed to screening external storage of supplies, which is actually a little bit less, but then it, down in number 4 under 4.10, it said, results in no external evidence of the enterprise except for permitted signs, which is a much higher bar. So I'm gonna suggest to the select board that if they were gonna tweak that a little bit to take out that language, the no external evidence, I don't think, I think that got through and nobody thought about the implications for some of our existing businesses.
Yeah, and I think it was discussed amongst other members prior to.
I think it was the
I might have
transition.
been involved. We were transitioning. I don't know if you two were involved. You were taking minutes at that point, but I don't. there were a lot of things being thrown around at that time. I think it just got pushed in there.
So I think in that transition, it was not front and foremost in all of our minds. So that'll be something that I reach out to the select board on our hearing on Monday.
And I don't know if it's appropriate or not, but Lisa, this is one of the points you brought up. Do you have any further thoughts on that, or should we even be discussing this before the hearing, or?
I don't know the answer to that. We're fine because we're in open meeting, and
Right.
Lisa, I think, is fine because she's
been in
attending our meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think this would be any kind of unallowed communication. But we can talk about it on Monday.
I would definitely like to talk about it more Monday, because I do feel that, in my own opinion, which I mentioned at our meeting as well, I think that is much too restrictive language, in particular to several pre-existing businesses in our town. And I certainly don't want anybody to use the zoning incorrectly to penalize someone that isn't going against any restrictions that we have.
Yeah, I mean, I think having them be subject to performance standards is appropriate, but nobody wants to hurt an existing business. So that was never the intention. I think there was a lot going on, like you said.
And I think it may be a conversation that we have in the future at another meeting is, do some of these new changes impact new businesses and new entities coming into town versus people who've been doing something for a long time?
Well, that's the other option, is you just grandfather it.
Right.
I mean, I think we're all sensitive to, if the new business is next to your house and all of a sudden there's a whole bunch of new something right in your front yard, how do you feel about that?
Right.
But if it's here already, so it'll be a conversation, I think. So that was my one takeaway. My second takeaway was on the changes to single-family home to the household dwelling unit. And I really, someone in the audience brought it up, as the unlimited number of unrelated people. And in thinking about it, I really do feel, as we discussed earlier, but I think we were sort of advised away from it, although I've done some more research and I don't think that there is any limit that I'm aware of that you couldn't say cap it at 8, which is the same number for group houses. So it's a family, any number of family, and you define family how you want. I think we could all agree that families are families, and there's no point, trying to define or argue about that. But if it's unrelated people, I think having a number like 8, like a group home or a substance addiction treatment home, is not unreasonable for a small town without any facilities. So that would be my further suggestion.
And that's the direction we're going now, the way we rewrote.
Yeah.
And then Martha's suggestion was...
It doesn't have a cap on it. So I think in our hearing, we agreed to say a single, I don't even know the name of it anymore, the single household unit is, she had her definition, and I think we inserted a family or blah, blah, blah. And that put the word family back in it, which was important to at least some in the audience. And the piece that's not in there is a number of how many unrelated people.
Oh, we did not put that in there?
I don't think we
thought
did. I think Martha pushed back against it. But
Well,
I've now looked
Martha
into it
then
more.
suggested that we speak to our town attorney and/or the LCT to get further thoughts from them, like a legal advice.
And I believe she has done that. I think that has been done, and there has not been any indication that that would be prohibited. There has to be a nexus to health, safety, welfare, stuff like that. But I think where we're allowed to cap a group home at 8, I don't think it's unreasonable and out of sync to say, it would also be appropriate to say 8 for unrelated people. So those are going to be, I just didn't want anyone to be caught by surprise, because these are the things that I've thought about when I listened to what people said in our hearing. And when I go to the select board hearing, this is what me personally, I'm going to suggest to the select board. But I didn't want you both to feel like, wait, I think we talked about this. So, any other thoughts of things that have come up since our hearings based on what we heard? Okay. Great. So that'll be interesting. That'll be on Monday. Are either of you gonna go?
Yeah.
I will not be. I'll be on Zoom, but I won't be physically here.
Okay. Okay. It's gonna be cold.
The cold has worn me out.
Killing you. All right. If we don't have anything else on following up, we can move on to the next item. Our next two meetings for February and March, I have a conflict the first week of February, which unfortunately is our meeting. Callista says this room is available February 11, 12, and 13 on the following week. And I think she preferred, did she have a preference? No, she doesn't care which night we do it, 11, 12, or 13. Are any of those available for us to reschedule? And I apologize for my conflict.
It's fine with me.
Okay.
Any of those days.
I'm good on the 12th.
12th. How about you, Shanann?
Yeah, that works for me, the 12th.
Okay, so let's reschedule February to the 12th.
So Wednesday, February 12th.
Yes. And then,
Does that work for Okemo?
Sure. But it should. We don't have February planned yet, so that should work, yeah.
okay, thank you, sir. I'll let Callista know. And then in March, we're supposed to have a meeting on March 3rd, but March 4th is voting day, so she needs to set up the night before and break down on the 4th. And she suggested rescheduling to March 6th, which is a
Thursday.
Thursday.
Well, I won't be here and I don't even know if I'll be able to Zoom it. So,
Is there another day that's better?
not that week, the next week.
Next week. We didn't even talk about the next week. I can check with Callista.
Okay.
In terms of the week of the 10th, select board is on the 10th.
I'm free the rest of the 11th, 12th, 13th.
Yeah, as far as I can tell, 11, 12, 13th works for me.
12th looks good.
12th is better because I don't even know if I'll be back.
That's a consistent shift from
Right.
month as well, too, which is always nice.
I hate rescheduling. Let me check with Callista if that works, but I think it probably should since the other Wednesday worked. Okay, so those are going to be rescheduled, subject to Callista's approval,
Okay.
and we can get the word out on that. Thank you for that. Okay, number 7, other business. Let's talk about that Google Drive again. Does anyone feel strongly that we need to retain these? And if you do, are you willing to be the one
One
to try to
second.
capture them?
Hold on, can we go back to the last?
Or back on schedule?
The week of March 3rd is fine. It's the week of March 8th to 18th that is
you're,
not good.
The weeks.
Right.
Not available. Okay.
So the week of March 3rd, it could be the 5th, 6th.
Would you rather it be the 5th, 6th?
Yeah, because the 12th, 13th is the not good day for me. Not good week. 8th to the 18th is no good.
Okay, so we could do the 6th, Thursday the 6th.
We could do for Thursday,
Okay.
6th.
That's fine.
That's fine.
Shanann, does that work for you?
Yeah, that should be fine.
March 6th. That one I do know is okay with the clerk, because I talked to her today. All right, so February 12th and March 6th.
Oh, that's Thursday. We good on scheduling?
Google Drive.
Can I ask the audience a quick question?
Yes.
Does Arturo have any, he knows about Google Drive, right?
Yeah.
So I wonder if I reached out to Steve and asked him, maybe I could get Arturo and Steve together to try to port it over and then figure out a way to put it on some sort of public format or put it on a drive at the library. I think that was one of the suggestions, or in the Historical Society. There's just my only pause about losing it. There's a lot of stuff going on at that time.
There was
Lots of Zoom
one big
meetings, one big hearing.
that I think we need to keep
What was the
Yeah,
hearing about?
the chase.
chase.
And to lose that visual, because the minutes, you know,
Okay,
Yeah,
are very abbreviated.
okay.
I think to have that to go back to, if, hopefully we never have to, but if we need to, I think it'd
Okay,
be good to have
that's a good
it.
point. Are you willing to spearhead that?
Yep,
I just want to get it off the drive so we can stop paying.
right.
And if you can get it from there, we can figure out what to do with it after and then tell Steve to take that off his credit card.
Okay, I'll see if our
Or the
girl
town's credit
can
card, or whoever's it is.
try working on it out. Because we just get it on a flash drive or something. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
have it in the safe or something, that'd
Yeah.
be fun. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll work on that.
For me, the thought of like figuring it out from zero and trying to, figure out how where it is and I get access and find the password. Like,
well, we just have to remember, if you put it on a flash drive, that we have the flash drive.
Right.
I think archiving it at the library or historical society makes sense in that respect, not to like shove it in someone's desk or that point.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, we should probably all take copies while we're in this position in case we need to reference anything.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
So now that you're reminding me of that, I could be persuaded that that could be valuable. I just don't want to do it.
Okay. All right.
But if you could lead that, that would be fantastic.
I will lead that.
Great. Future meetings. So Dana, this has been the focus for the past year. What do we envision we'll be talking about for February and March? What did you used to talk about before the zoning bylaws? Were you?
Ordinances,
You know, I think
ordinances.
I've been thinking about this off and on. Yeah, we can tackle specific topics. You know, as we went through the bylaws, there were always sections that we were like, this needs a lot more work, but we don't have the time to dive into it.
Yes.
You know, like the flood zone and things like that. So, and of course, at the direction of the select board, if there are any issues that pop up, then they can direct us to dig in further and do that map work.
I do think we also have to address STRs since it's such a big topic everywhere, you know. I think we have to make some kind of stand on it. I don't know what it'll be, but just for clarification of it.
I guess before we spend any time on it, I guess I would want to get some indication from the select board of their interest in that, since any work we do would have to go through them. So I don't
Yeah.
want to do a ton of work if the select board's not interested.
Well, and my only comment about the STRs is it's a big conversation that has a worldwide impact and has been discussed in so many different levels, from just a basic, you know, list of people, a registry, if you will, to major implications. And when the discussion that we had before, we went to the select board and said, are there any issues? Can we push this off to a point where there are issues? And then my mindset right now is the market's really going to dictate STRs in the near to upcoming future, because it's changing so drastically. I mean, STRs are not doing as well as they used to do. The market is way, way, way down. You look at Vrbo, Airbnb statistics, it's way down. So I think there's an adjustment on the horizon that's probably even started that will kind of dictate the volume and the issues that
So-
plague us or don't plague us.
The other thing that might go along with that is this push that we've almost been tasked with, the affordable housing. You know, so we could work on something,
Well, and that's
I know
that's
what.
another topic.
right?
And my opinion is they don't merge. I don't think one impacts the other and vice versa. Rich?
Okay, so if I remember correctly, and I'm pretty up to date with the STRs, what happened was the old planning commission submitted a form to the select board. The select board had it and said, no, this is not right. It kicked it back to the planning board, to the commission, and asked you guys to redo it. So Kathy and everybody was involved. And then they said, redo it and then bring it back to us. And then nothing ever happened. So it's really, by direction of the select board, has asked you guys to take that form
And redo
it and send it back to them. That's kind of how it was left.
So maybe we need to get a little more instruction from the select board on what it was they wanted to be redone.
Right, because I am totally, I think there should be a registry. We should know who's doing it. Because if the town never gets, because one, it needs to be defined, it needs to be understood by everybody. And then in the future, if grandfathering's coming into it, or anybody new coming can't do it, or whatever, we don't even know who's doing it. We don't know who's doing it, who's not doing it, so if there's a registry, then we know. So then if we have that information, we can be like, oh, well, there's 2 people doing it, it's not a big deal, or there's 80 people doing it, and it's bigger than we think. Right now, I don't think the town really has any idea. We all watch the news and STR this, STR that, oh my God. But the town doesn't have any information. I mean, you can go to VRBO and there's 3 or 4 people, and then I hear there's 5 other people up the street doing it or whatever. So I think the town needs to know, and I think that should be a registry with name, address, phone number, whatever. And I think the problem the last time was with the form that they submitted, it was ridiculous.
Very involved
Some of
and
the
very
stuff that they were
restrictive.
asking for was just, I mean, there was no need for it. But getting the information so the select board and the town, knows, I think is pretty important, and I think it should be done. So I think it's in your hands from the select board, however.
Does anybody have a copy of
I
what
don't
was
know.
submitted to the select board? Do you have that?
I can probably find it.
Could you maybe circulate that to us so we can start to think about it?
And I think the registry ties into the point I made about, do we restrict it going forward? So if we find out that there's 60 people doing it in town, do we want to penalize those 60 people if if there aren't any issues with them? And then restrict it, so that there's not 80, 90, 100? I don't know if that will ever
Hopefully
happen.
those aren't the numbers.
Right.
I doubt it.
I think that's the conversation to have, but it is a good reason for why you try to jump on it before it's 68. It's very hard to take something away from someone,
Right.
and not fair.
Right.
Most likely if they've made an investment in that.
And Rich makes a very good point, because there's no way of knowing how many there really are. You speak to one person and they know of 5 that we've never heard of. And then you wonder, where are they advertising? And then we found out that people are advertising on Zillow and all these other formats that are not in the traditional, Vrbo or Airbnb platform. Because that's what everyone was focused originally on. Let's just nail everyone on the Airbnb and Vrbo platforms. And that's where they targeted all those people. And then to come find out over the past year or so conversations, there's more of them out there. Some of them, like in Miami, more building in Miami, we have a couple who bought a unit. You can't Airbnb, can't, it's against the condo regulations, but they have a lot of friends and family that use the place.
The extended family definition, right.
So, there's so many ways to skin the cat, and I think we could dedicate a meeting on just getting to, some sort of a framework on that subject. And then another meeting on the affordable housing.
More meetings than one.
Yeah,
Because I just remember back to 2 years ago when they started to tackle it, and it was.
So if you can find what went to the select board, that'll give us a starting point. Lisa, can I put you on the spot and ask if we could get any feedback from the select board on what the select board didn't like about the prior one?
Yeah, I That was before my time, so I never actually saw the original document. So I'd be interested to look at it as well.
Should we liaise through you, or should I maybe talk to Bob Allen and see what his thoughts are?
Why don't you follow up with Robert on that? Since he
Okay.
was part of the original, had the original opinion on it, I guess.
Okay.
I'm happy to ask him for you as well. I mean, that's fine.
That's okay. I can ask him. If it's one of us or the other of us, I'm happy to ask him. Is that okay with
Yeah.
both of you?
I mean, this will be a pretty big meeting, Monday,
I think it should happen after.
so we
Yeah.
should,
Yeah.
things calm down a little
Yeah.
bit.
Let's let the select board deal with the,
And in the meantime, I'm sure, I was part of, those conversations, so I'm pretty sure I have a draft of that.
okay.
That would be great. Yeah, what I would say is if any of you are going to be attending the select board meeting on Monday, maybe if you just bring it up in the other that you'd like to start that discussion about the SDRs, that would be good, because then it'll just be very brief and it won't,
Okay.
garner a lot of conversation.
And actually, it's not inappropriate because we were asked by Mark to consider something in the zoning ordinance about the SDRs, and we deferred on that because it was such a big topic. It didn't feel like it was meant to just slide into the zoning code.
Absolutely.
So I'm happy to ask the question on Monday, or if I forget, if one of you can.
Okay, and for transparency's sake, I was also involved in the conversations as far as from my role as the animal control officer, wanting some sort of registry. So I've stated that fact before. I don't know what else will come of your conversations, but I think at the very least a registry is appropriate.
Okay. Great. I think that so in terms of other future meetings, STRs could take up some, someone had mentioned, Martha had mentioned town plan. Although we're not due to do our town plan for a while, we could look at it if we want to. We could think about the river corridors. The tricky part about that is that would require some outside advising.
Absolutely.
So we would have to get the town lawyer or, oh my gosh, I'm forgetting the acronym, VLCT, the Vermont League of Cities and Towns, advice on that. And I don't know if they have the interest of the bandwidth.
Well, there'd be more than just those two entities that would need to get involved, because we'd have to understand the risks
Yeah.
of the FEMA
Yeah, the
insurance. And
Although Martha tells me that by 2020 something, the state is hoping to take over all the river corridor language, so maybe we can just let it go to them at some point. But that language is tricky.
And then, back to affordable housing, one of the conversations that we hit on in previous meetings was reducing the lot size in some of the areas from 5 acres to 1 acres, which I don't know if it would do any good with building costs, being what they are, but it might promote some sort of, we passed by Brownsville, they're doing something over there.
It's stopped. It's been stopped for
In the
6
town,
months.
those are STRs
Yeah.
Oh,
those
they
are
were doing STRs?
by the post office.
Yeah.
I think those are
Oh,
STRs.
well.
But they've been looked like that for 6 months now.
Oh,
No work. I don't know what happened. But, yes, and I know they're trying to change the language of Act 250 in order to enable more affordable housing, within the villages or towns, whatever, so. Also, I think it's starting next week. I signed up for seminars about grant money for the wastewater treatment facilities that we would need.
Okay.
So the first one is next week, so I'll report back after.
Can you brief us?
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so we have some stuff to talk about. I mean, I don't want to make busy work, and I don't want to have us tweak things that don't need tweaking,
Right.
but if we have time and there are things needing attention, this is a good time to do it.
and again, I think the select board, we can take their lead if things pop up in their management of the town and they see a concern that somebody's brought up or needs to be addressed, then we can take their direction.
Okay.
But I agree, I don't think we need to sit around making up things or tweaking things that don't need to be tweaked. And
No.
Exactly.
We also should put a little bit of thought into recruiting. I actually happen to love our 3-person working group, but we are a 5-person board. So we either have to ask the select board to go to a 3-person board, otherwise we all have to be completely aligned all the time, or it's a no vote, or we need to find 2 more people. So let's think about that for the new year. Anything else? Public comments?
I'm very happy about the 3-member board.
It's
I think
working.
great that you have- I think you guys work so well together, and
It's working.
it's coming from 3 different perspectives, and I think it's fantastic. And I think the select board should put it at a 3-person board.
5 is
I
a
think you
lot.
guys work really good together.
5 is a lot. It has,
Are you
it ha-
lobbying for that, Rich?
you know, it has.
It's all peaceful, Lisa.
It is peaceful. And I think it has enabled find alignment because we have to be aligned. I mean, effectively, any one person has veto power. But it has resulted in, I think, thoughtful conversations and hopefully a good outcome. So that's good.
And we've worked through some topics that we had differing opinions and
Yeah.
we were, made the words work.
Yeah,
Which
I
I
think
think
that's
is
right.
really important. It wasn't my way or no way or your, we
Yeah.
worked through it.
Yeah, so something to think about. Or maybe we just stay doing what we're doing.
Well, again, and considering the amount of work that we accomplished last year doing the bylaws,
Very good point.
being that we lost 2 meetings in the beginning of the year through whatever happened in those meetings, we had a shorter period of time.
Yeah. No, considering the amount of time we had and the work left to do, that was a lot that got done. Great. So nothing else?
Yes, you guys should just hang out and eat bonbons for a few months.
Bonbons, I don't know if I could agree about that.
Well, what I do want to say is you guys have done a ton of work over the last year and it is much appreciated. I can't imagine the amount of time that you guys all put into it outside of these meetings. And so thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, well, in our little group of 6, we all agree. If there is nothing further, it is 7:32.
Oh, my God.
I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Well, I motion to adjourn.
I second.
Okay, if there's no opposition, then this meeting is adjourned.